The fight for 15 is several years old, and when it comes to minimum wages, it's no longer a livable one, not by a long shot. And in this video, I'm going to try to explain to you exactly why that is the case. In order to do that, it's probably a good idea to understand why we have a minimum wage in the first place. It was signed into law by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1938. It was part of something called the Fair Labor Standards Act. It creates the right to a minimum wage and also prohibits employment of minors in anything that could be considered oppressive child labor. In 2009, the minimum wage was raised to a whopping $7.25 an hour, and since then, it has not been raised, at least not at the federal level, since 2009. So, why do we even have a minimum wage? Well, so employers have to actually pay you something. Believe me, they would pay you even less than $7.25 an hour if they could. And FDR had some very strong feelings about companies that did that kind of thing. In my inaugural, I laid down the simple proposition that nobody is going to starve in this country. It seems to me to be equally plain that no business which depends for existence on paying less than the living wages to its workers has any right to continue in this country. By business, I mean the whole of commerce as well as the whole of industry. By workers, I mean all workers, the white collar class as well as the men in overalls. And by living wages, I mean more than a bare subsistence level. I mean the wages of decent living. So, yeah, it seems very clear that the intent was never for someone to have to work multiple jobs just to live decently, rather than the wage of one job was supposed to provide more than just the ability to scrape by. And let me tell you, in 2024, $15 an hour absolutely does not meet that definition. And the biggest reason why is rent, but not in the way that you're probably thinking. Okay, the national rent price on average in the US is about $1,372 a month. $15 an hour, which is the minimum wage in some states right now, is $2,400 a month. So, given those numbers, you would think you could rent a place, but not really have anything left over for food or utilities or really anything. But the bigger problem than that is even if you could just barely scrape by like that on paper, you're not going to qualify to rent that apartment because more and more places are requiring that a person applying to rent for a place needs to make 3 times the monthly rent in their gross income just to qualify, right? Just to be able to even put in an application, basically. So that puts everything in a whole new perspective, doesn't it? So let's look at a state like Massachusetts, for example. The average rent there is about $1,800 a month. So 3 times 1,800 would be $5,400 a month gross monthly income. We've just established that $15 an hour is only $2,400 a month, which leaves you with a $3,000 shortfall. In order for your $15 an hour wage to be 3 times the monthly rent, the rent would have to be $800. And unless you have a TARDIS, that's not going to happen for you. Even if you go to the poorest state in the nation, Mississippi, and you go to Jackson, where the average rent is what, $1,005 a month, you still have a shortfall of $1,395 that somehow you got to come up with in order to even qualify for that apartment in one of the poorest states of the Union. So I know I can hear it through the screen that there are some people probably yelling at their monitors or their phones and they're just typing furiously away in the comments, hey, just get a roommate, just get a roommate. You can just pool your money together. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, more and more places are requiring the 3 times the monthly rent wage income for every single tenant. Everybody who signs on the dotted line, not cumulatively, everyone who wants to live in that 2 bedroom apartment, except for a kid, um, has to make 3 times the monthly rent. It's batshit crazy. It's insane. We're the only species that has to actually pay to live on this frickin' planet. It's so stupid. Look, housing is designated as a human right okay, by the UN, in Article, I think, 25 of the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So any wage that doesn't allow you to qualify for housing is not a living wage. Look, we need to do better. We need to not only raise the minimum wage, but we have to enact federally mandated rent control as part of that. Otherwise, the landlords are just going to jack up the prices to accommodate for the new minimum wage. And sure, while we're making this wonderful wish list here, no bites. While we're making that wonderful wish list here, we also need to ensure that the federal minimum wage of, let's start it at $25 an hour, goes up every year. Yes, it needs to go up every year. It needs to go up with the rate of inflation. Now, if the rate of inflation goes down, it shouldn't go down. It'll stay the same. But if inflation goes up, then the minimum wage goes up. And then if by some chance it goes back down again, it would just stay at the new higher rate. The minimum wage should always outpace inflation, always and forever. Amen. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for stopping by. You know what to do with the like and subscribe and all that. And until next time, I'm Ken. You take care. What are we doing? What's next? It's time to attack your sister. All right, we're going to go. I'm going to go defend. I'll see you.